Hello and welcome to the Ecommerce Podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmundson. This is a show all about helping you deliver e-commerce wow. And to do just that, today we are chatting with the legendary Phil Carr from Upzelo. We are going to be talking about e-com. We're going to be talking about referrals. We're going to be talking about our trip to Sub Summit. We've got it all coming up, no doubt. So stay tuned for that. But before we get into the conversation, let me extend a very warm welcome to you, especially if this is your first time with us. If this is your first time, a very, very warm welcome to you. We just talk about e-com every single week. We have a little podcast that goes out talking about e-commerce with experts like Phil, with e-commerce founders and all kinds of stuff coming up. You're just going to want to subscribe. I could do a really professional, slick sales pitch, but you're just going to want to subscribe. That's all I can say. Now, of course, if you are regular to the show, a very warm welcome back. Thank you for being one of said subscribers. We are growing every week. It always astounds me. More and more people are listening to the show, which is encouraging because the more people listen, the more subscribers get, the more likely I am to carry on. And the bigger and better the guests we get as well, like Phil, who's just, it's about as big as you can get, I think, in the known world, Phil. So, Phil, let's talk about Phil. Phil built his first website at 15 and has been on a roll ever since, founding, selling, and investing in businesses like hampers.com and mygetaways.co.uk. His fitness app, My PT Hub, flexed its way, to the top of the world's largest, catching the attention of big private equity firm. Now he's all in on Upzelo, helping e-commerce and retail businesses keep their customers coming back, whilst also sharing his know-how as a guest lecturer at Portsmouth University. Should we call you Professor Phil then?
Absolutely not. I'm definitely underqualified to be able to do that. But Matt, thanks so much for having me on. How are you today?
Yeah, good, man. Good. It's a little bit windy, so apologies if there's a little bit of wind noise. Hopefully the noise gate on my posh sound desk is keeping it all out. But it's mad because 2 days ago, it was 26 degrees, warm and very hot. And today it's 15 and windy. I don't understand it. This is why I do e-commerce and not the weather, right? I just don't understand it.
Well, I mean, you touched upon Sub Summit just then, and that was when two Brits happened to meet each other for the first time over in Texas.
We had to go all the way to Texas to meet.
And I think my opening line was, "I'm sure we could have done this in a more cost-effective way, but fine." Like it's.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we did meet at Sub Summit. And again, if you're a regular to the show, you'll know that I went to Sub Summit last year. I'm going again next year. Are you going next year, by the way?
I am. Yeah. We've literally just signed our sponsorship for 2025. So it's we're thoroughly looking forward to that again.
So we'll see you back in Dallas. But yes, Sub Summit is a trade show. What is it? It's a trade show, I suppose, isn't it? For those in subscription commerce. Mm-hmm. And I love it. It's one of the few shows that I go to every year, and I love it. And some great people over there, and all become great friends and have a good time, and so on and so forth. And yeah, this year we saw you guys there. You had a little Upzelo booth. Did it go well?
It did. It went really well, actually. It was kind of it was our first time attending as Upzelo as a group. I know a few other people that have been over there, but touching upon your point around the subscription side of things, it's really interesting meeting people from all sorts of backgrounds and different walks of life, and how subscription touches so many different verticals and so many different industries, and how each of those verticals think the things are different, where actually there's a lot of the problems, some of the things that we can get into on this podcast, especially to do with referrals, etc., how they can overlap. But yeah, it was our first time being over there. Next year we're going bigger, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. Okay. And more of the staff members will be over there. But yeah, got a really good feel for it, and planning on going back more and more often.
Fantastic. Well, we'll definitely see that. I spoke to Chris last week, actually. We're going to do another podcast with Chris, who heads up Sub Summit. So
He's a great guy. Very, very a fountain of knowledge. I think you'll find. Yeah, he's more akin to a professor, I would have said, than myself when it comes to any of those sort of things.
I'm sure he'll be very flattered and appreciative of said comment about his professorship. So tell us a little bit about Upzelo. I mean, it's a funky name for one. Why Upzelo? What does it do? Just give us the elevator pitch.
Funny enough, so Zello is actually an Italian adverb, or for part of their slang of significantly helping someone or something.
Okay.
And obviously the word up having positive connotations coming along with it. And it was let's just slap the two words together. We obviously bought the domain name with two L's, so just in case people spell it wrong, they get redirected. So we kind of thinking slightly ahead then.
Yeah, I like that.
To be honest, you see a lot of the time that people spend so much cash on trying to find the best domain name, the best side of thing, but actually it's the integrity, the honesty, the product marketing, everything along those sort of things that come along with it. You can kind of make it into your own. But the word Zello having significantly helping someone or something, I think when it comes to retention, loyalty, referrals, those sorts of things, it kind of all blurs into one really. So yeah, that's originally where it started from. And it was actually on a website called Squad Help. And I put up a very, very quick post on it saying, here's a prize of $500. Send it out there, and you get a load of creative copywriters that just come back with a ton of brand names, and you say,
okay,
the .com needs to be available, .co.uk needs to be there, and I need you to do a basic search for trademarking in the UK and the US for it to work. And you got several thousand that came back, and that was the one I was like, actually, yeah, quite like that name, and we'll give it a go. So that's as honest as it can be in terms of it.
It's quite a genius thing, actually, because the amount of times people sit there thinking, what do I call this thing? Right? I want to set up a website. What do I call it? Do I need the .co.uk if I'm in the UK? Do I need the .com if I'm in the UK or anywhere else? What do I need to do? How does that work? And so we spend hours and hours and hours going round and round and round thinking about names. And where did you go to? What was the website? Because I'm remembering this one.
I think it was called Squad Help. They might have changed. I think they changed their name to Atom now, I think. But no, it's funny, just quickly touching on that. So our previous business was called My PT Hub. And for everyone in the UK, a PT is a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. But for everyone listening on the other side of the pond, a PT is a physiotherapist. But I didn't know that when I founded that business. Okay. And I just thought that everyone calls their personal trainer a PT. And but as that business grew, and we worked with more and more people, and we were starting to branch out to work with boutique clubs and gyms and what have you, actually the name of PT being in the title started to become a bit of a problem. Yeah. And so I remember, after that, it was a case of, actually, can we come up with a name which is a bit more obscure, a bit more, just nothing really necessarily associated with it. So if you do need to pivot or you do need to make updates or something, you're not locked in by the name. I genuinely cost $6 to buy the domain name. It cost me about $500 in a fee to win it. And then the trademarking was so unbelievably cheap, because it's like, what's this word Upzelo that you're talking about? And you go,
no one's ever heard of it. Yeah.
And for sub $2,000 all in, you've got everything done and sorted. So, that's how the name arrived. So.
It's really fascinating. Really fascinating. I'm going to go check it out because, that, like I say, the amount of heart, blood, sweat, and tears people have poured over naming things. It's a really, I like it. Ingenious in many ways.
You could use ChatGPT to do it now. It's you
can, but ChatGPT comes up with some very bland words. It would never come up with Upzelo.
Yeah, I think you need to start adding the words in. Think about list me 50 adverbs for somebody when they meet someone or they connect with somebody else, or when this particular thing happens, and then also make sure that the .com is available as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So you just being very, very specific with it. But yeah, that human element of it was always good.
I love it. Love it. So you've mentioned briefly about referrals. So you've got Upzelo is in referral marketing, I take it.
Yeah. So, so our ultimate aim, we actually own the trademark of Retention OS as well. So we are, if you like, our North Star is heading towards an all-encompassing retention platform for e-commerce and for retail. So whilst I would love to be able to sit here and build every possible feature and part of the product as we want to be able to do that, we've got to start small and you've got to start somewhere. So under retention, if you like, the first two avenues that we looked into were customer loyalty and referrals.
Yeah.
And the main reason for doing that was, I don't know any business out there, and I'd love to be corrected on this, where referrals, even at whatever size it is that you're at, isn't important. And it is a major acquisition channel for a huge amount of businesses. And the best way of getting those acquisition, those new customers in, is through word of mouth and through friends referring. And so a big part of our platform is all to do with making the experience between those first connections that two friends have or two family members seamless. And given my background in product development, user experience design, all of those sorts of things, we spend an awful lot of time and attention really focusing in on, well, actually, how do people use this? What do people actually want to do when it comes to referrals? And to be brutally honest with you, the way that we'd seen it being done in e-commerce has, in my opinion, was outdated, and the user experience was really not that great. So being in the referral side, that was where we were getting the vast majority of our customers in, knowing that once we've got the referral piece nailed and we've got that working really well, we can start to layer on more. I'm going to use the word mature, but I don't mean mature in terms of the skills and excellence of the people running the e-commerce business. I mean mature in terms of the age and, say, the number of orders that you're processing per month. Or should I say the age of the business. More of the loyalty orientated tactics and retention tactics that you can do start to become more apparent. In the early days, if you're setting up a business, it's all about trying to acquire new customers. But then as you start to get up into the realms of the 5, 6, 7, 10,000 plus orders per month, referrals is important, but it's what do you do as the next part of the customer life cycle in there? And I think a lot of the things that we've done previously in other subscription-based businesses, or should I say in other B2B2C businesses that we've been in before, taught us an awful lot about how that product roadmap starts to unfold. So yes, referrals is a very, very big part of what it is that we're trying to do and how we're and where we're going.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to dig into this. When I was, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Phil. When I was at Sub Summit, I had breakfast with Jay Myers. I keep forgetting his surname, Jay Myers. Do you know Jay from Bold Commerce?
I do. Yeah.
Legend of a guy. Really interesting guy. We spent 2.5 hours at breakfast one morning just chatting away. We got very carried away about stuff. Hopefully going to get him on the podcast. And I said to him, Jay, listen, let me put you in a scenario because I'm kind of curious to see how he's got obvious copious amounts of data with bulk commerce. And I'm like, Jay, listen, if you were going to start a business today, and I think I said to him, let's imagine it's a beauty business because it's a super stupid competitive industry. How would you do it? And he said he would focus in on two things. He would focus in on user-generated content as his main, source of ad content, which didn't surprise me. But then he said he would double down on referrals as a way to grow his business. And he said he wouldn't do referrals as in it would have to be more than just refer a friend. You get $5, they get $5 off an order. It has to be a little bit more involved in that because that doesn't seem to be working anywhere near as well as it should be. And so we spent 2.5 hours talking about this in terms of how he would do it. And JB&J, legend of a guy, showed me all kinds of graphs to justify his stance on the whole thing. And I was totally captivated. I really was. And I thought, this is interesting because here we are with all the data, with all the sales data. These are the two key things you've distilled success down to. There's obviously more to it than that, but these were the two main proponents. So I'm very interested in becoming more and more interested again in the whole referral marketing aspect of it. So I'm kind of curious, Phil, from your point of view, coming into the e-commerce world from a subscription commerce. So, with my PT Hub, building that, selling that with Upzelo, you've got to build referrals into your own business network, haven't you? In many ways. Mm-hmm. What are some of the key things you've learned then?
Well, firstly, it's a brilliant question to ask, and let me just take a step back for a second and kind of just set the scene of how I can answer that question in the best way possible. So, a second ago, I just mentioned about being in the B2B to C world, and whilst yes, we ran a SaaS product, and the same way as we're running a SaaS business at the moment. The way in which it is our previous business worked was we sold a piece of software to personal trainers and or to gyms and to clubs, and they white labeled our product and were able to send their workouts, their nutrition plans, the schedule, take payments between the client and the trainer, etc., etc. Now, obviously, since starting that in 2015 and leaving that in 2020, our churn rate in that business was sub 2%. And wow. we had millions and millions of subscribers and users of our product, and we were getting a new user every 30 seconds. But the way in which it is that we retained our customers is we had to focus on what the client wanted and worked backwards. So if we knew that we made our technology habitual, and we knew that a customer would want to, or a client of the trainer would log in, do their workouts, do their log their nutrition, tick what they needed to do from a habit tracking perspective that day, pay their trainer for another 6 weeks worth of online or face-to-face training sessions. If you get that bit right, then the personal trainer won't leave using your product because they enjoy using it, because their clients enjoy using it.
Yeah.
But not only that, but you're also making the personal trainer look good because it's making them go, look, oh, wow, I've managed to basically run a software business for $49 a month. This is fantastic. And then by proxy, that makes our subscription work really well.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about when we look at e-commerce, and we're essentially doing the same thing here. We are looking at it, and our customers are the merchants or the e-commerce providers, and the clients of the personal trainer are the e-commerce customers.
Yeah.
So we took the same philosophy and the same train of thought and worked backwards and said, okay, so if a client or if a customer is going to refer somebody else, how are they going to do it? So instead of looking at it from a perspective of, whilst I understand the quantitative side of the metric, or looking at the graphs and the data is important, but let's just look at the human element of this first and go, how is somebody actually interacting with somebody else? When do they actually do it? And looking at this through the lens in 2024, what technologies are available to be able to facilitate that connection in a more seamless and frictionless way?
Yeah.
Because if we can make that work, then by proxy, the e-commerce brand gets more customers, and then the e-commerce brand go, great, I'm going to stay with Upzelo because it's working really well for them. So it's kind of a win-win-win all round. So when I'm looking at referrals and I'm saying, well, how does that work better? One thing that we noticed was that people don't want to log in to an e-commerce website, go to their customer account portal, find their referral URL, copy that, go to whatever channel that they're looking to communicate with their friends with, whether that's via WhatsApp, iMessages, whether that's a group chat, individual, whatever, send it through to them. But not only send it through to them, but then you've also got the added factor of, is that a convenient time for the person that they're referring to make the purchase? Or am I then going to have to hunt back through a WhatsApp message to be able to try and find where that referral link was to then go back to it? And so when we started to examine this further, you start to actually go, well, the user experience here is just broken. It doesn't work. And it's a bit old hat. So what we did was we took that entire technology and we wrapped it up into the iOS and Google ecosystem. And said everyone's got, I say everyone, the vast majority of people have got a smartphone. And in fact, the vast majority of people have then got a smartwatch in some way, shape or form. And they live within either the iOS or Android ecosystem. So we took that entire referral process and put it directly into wallet passes inside people's devices. So there's no app that you need to install. If you and I are at a barbecue, or let's just say that you are at Sub Summit, and I say to you, that cologne you're wearing is really nice, or that t-shirt you've got is really cool, or those trainers are really cool, and because it's a brand it is that you like, now I'm able to get my phone out of my pocket or open up my wallet pass on my phone and share that wallet pass with you, and then the merchant can decide, well, how am I going to incentivize both parties here? Am I going to do this through store credit? Am I going to do this through a voucher? Am I going to do this in a layering system where in the future I want to enable people to be able to move through different sorts of tier mechanisms? Do I want them to share something on social media? How do I want that to function and to be able to work? And that, therefore, the reward of that might be different based upon different cohorts of customers. So a customer that's been with me for 5 years, I want to reward and interact with them differently to somebody who's been with me for a month and referring somebody else. You can do it in all sorts of different ways. But the really important thing here is, firstly, the speed of which it is that I can send something to somebody else's device. But now that you have a wallet pass installed on essentially a guest customer's phone or a customer to be's phone, I now have the ability to be able to open that up as a whole new marketing channel. I can now send push notifications directly to the wallet pass to remind that new customer to be, hey, come back. You've got this. We're doing this particular offer at the moment. We've got a exclusive product drop. As a VIP guest referral, we'd like to exclusively invite you in. And then you can use the device's hardware built in, so you can drop a GPS chip. So we're working with a company here in the UK that sponsor the Isle of Wight Yachting Festival, right? And so they drop a pin on the Isle of Wight and say, any of our customers that has a wallet pass installed on the island, come through to our booth and you get X% off. We've got another example of where customers using the wallet passes, and they say, if any of our customers happen to be within 100 meters or 100 feet of one of our competitors' stores, ping them another push notification. And but this is not just for existing customers. This is also for the customer that you've just referred in. Yeah. And you suddenly sit here and go, wow, what I can do with this is so much greater. And it's just a viral effect. It's just this networking effect of this stuff coming out. Just to add some statistics to this, there's a business based in Newcastle called eSig1 that use our product. Within 48 hours, they had about 130 wallet passes distributed. Within 3 weeks, it was nearly 3,000 that they were on. Suddenly, there's 3,000 new devices they can communicate with that otherwise would have cost them, let's say, between £5,000 to £7,000 worth of acquisition cost to be able to try and find those people in. And it's now essentially at zero because you've been able to do it through this new mechanism. So yeah, as I say, that's a slightly long-winded way of trying to answer that question, but it's the context around you've got to make the user experience frictionless rather than trying to build the technology that is simply just built to be able to help the merchant rather than actually how do the customer want to use it at the end of the day. So, yeah.
It's very clever, Phil. It's very, very clever. And I'm curious, how have you found that working with e-com sites? For example, if going back to the gym, I can see that if I'm a member of a gym, I can get the wallet pass and I can, go refer some friends or whatever, or bring them, however, the gym want to do that. Because I'm physically going to the gym. Whereas the web, e-commerce is a bit more digital, isn't it? I suppose. So I'm kind of curious, what have you noticed between like in-person and online businesses using the wallet pass idea, which is remarkably clever, and I'm just curious about that.
So on the back of a wallet pass, you have the ability to load up what's known as the pass details with anything that is that you want. So let's just say you're running a loyalty program, and a customer is in, let's just say, call it tier 2 or silver as an example. The details on the back of the wallet pass can update and change based upon what the customer is doing and how they are interacting with your brand. And when I say brand, that can be both online or in store. So it can connect with your POS if you're doing retail, but it can also be used so that when I click the pass details on the back of the phone, it automatically opens up your website in the background. So let's take the health and beauty as an example, right? You've got a new mascara that you've got coming out, and you send a push notification to your VIP customers that says 10% off this weekend, waterproof mascara only. When I click that push notification, it either takes me directly to the website, loaded with the promotion as part of the metadata which is sitting inside that push notification, or it flips the back of the pass round and I can see on my device, this store has got this 24 hours only, with a link next to it that says either redeem, shop now, go. So it doesn't matter whether you're, bricks and mortar retail business or whether I'm online, you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But what is really cool about what e-commerce brands are doing is on the front of the pass, you have an image, which is known as your, it's kind of like your banner at the front of it. You can change that whenever you want. So if you're running a promo on your website and the carousel that's sitting on the front of your site and it's a promotional banner, you can take that and stick that in front of the wallet pass, send a push notification to someone, and they can see the promo sitting in their phone, when otherwise, if I was doing that on a mobile, I'll either have to go open up Safari or Chrome and go directly through to your site, or I need to have an e-commerce app installed. And in this instance, it doesn't make sense. It might be a new referral scheme it is that you're running for people. Let's present that in the marketing collateral towards the front. So it's a two-pronged. It's a marketing channel, but it's also an ability to be able to distribute that out. So it doesn't matter whether it's physical retail or whether it's e-commerce only. It works in both of those examples, or those situations, should I say.
That's really interesting. And so, I mean, take-up rates then, I assume, are they good? As in, if I, for example, thought, this is a bloody good idea, I'm going to do this, and I email, 100,000 customers and say, this is what we're doing. How many people would you expect sort of partake?
So we're seeing around about kind of a 5 to 10% uptake within sort of like the first couple of weeks. Now that percentage might sound low, but you've got to bear in mind that the ongoing statistics from that. So when you look at push notifications, roughly around about 28 of all push notifications get opened up on first time that they're displayed on the device. The minute that you move that into SMS or email, the percentages drop off a cliff. They go into single digits in terms of from those side of things. But from the customers that we've got at the moment, it ranges between 5 to 10% within the first week or so. And then the percentage then slowly starts to increase off of the back of that. Which from our perspective, we think is a pretty good number to start off with, because you're already 10% better than you were a week ago, and you've really had to invest almost next to nothing in to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I imagine it's 5 to 10% of some of your most engaged customers who are going to go, yes, this is a good idea. I like this, and they're going to install it and go for it, aren't they? And I'm just thinking, actually, if there's quite a few e-commerce sites I shop from. There are some which I would say I'm pretty, even knowing all the tricks, I think I've become pretty brand loyal. I'm like, oh, you've done a good job there. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bought in. And I'm kind of thinking, if they emailed me and said, listen, we've got this app. It's both loyalty and it's got referrals built. I mean, and the messaging would have to be quite clear, I suppose. But in essence, it's a loyalty program and it's a referral program, and it's free to join. I think I would be like, yeah, I'm into, because of the amount of people I say, oh, you just check it out. So how does it? Let's run through some of the technology, Phil, if I can. Someone like me is a bit of an old dinosaur. I've got the wallet on my phone, right? So. The example you used was the mascara. I'm not an avid buyer of mascara, but let's say for the sake of this argument, I am, right? Yeah. I've got my phone, and I've got my. You sent me an email saying, "Listen, sign up." I guess I'm going to hit something in the link, which is going to install the pass on my phone fairly seamlessly. How do I then go and tell my neighbor about it? In terms of, before it was just copying a link into WhatsApp. What am I doing now?
Yeah, great question. So let me just talk you through the user journey, and then in a second, I will hold up my phone to the screen to kind of give you an example of where we're at. So let's just say you're a new e-commerce store and you're coming to look to install this the first time. Each of those e-commerce stores will get their own subdomain. So let's just call this, let's just call it Mascara Company is the made up brand that we're referring to here. So it would be mascaracompany.upzelo.com would be your starting point. Now, obviously, if you want that to be on your own domain, that's perfectly possible to be able to do so. But I'm talking here out of the box situation. Yeah. And then you can then, what happens is when Upzelo is installed on your Shopify store, all of your customers are synced automatically with that. So let's just say I install Upzelo, I've synced it with my Shopify store, and I've created my subdomain. You can then go into the product and you create the design of what you want your wallet pass to be able to look like. Now, there are certain guidelines that both Apple and Google say what you can and can't do. So when you're in the editor putting that particular piece together, there's a reason why you can't do something, is because you're just not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Then once you've then done that, the front of the pass always has a unique QR code with it for each individual customer. Whether that is a guest of your store, i.e. somebody who doesn't have a logged in Shopify account when I come back to the ecom platform, and customers where the unique identifier, being the email address or a telephone number, is recognized by that store. And we probably all use the shop app of where it logs us automatically into the check-in to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So what happens is, let's say you go into Klaviyo and you go, I'm going to alert all of my customers to let them know that our new referral scheme is, we're using this wallet pass technology. You can go into it, and in that email, just put that subdomain link in that just says mascaracompany.upzelo.com. Put it behind a button, put a UTM tag on it, whatever it is that you want to be able to do. Now, when the customer first arrives on that page, I'll talk about this from a desktop perspective. Obviously, everything I'm referring to here can shrink and expand based upon the device it is that you're using. On the left-hand side, it will say, hey, welcome, you're about to join our referral program. Please put in your email address and then hit sign up. So you put your email address in, that then hunts and goes, I know that Matt is an existing customer of this store, or no, Matt isn't an existing customer of this store. Once you've then done that, it then shows you, if you're on a desktop, here's your QR code, install the wallet pass onto your phone.
Yeah.
Or if you're on a mobile device, it recognizes you're on a mobile device And you know that when you get with your boarding pass when you go to an airport or something along those lines, all it does is it just uses the native OS. The wallet pass slides in, and you hit adds to wallet. So it's email address, adds to wallet. It's as simple as that. Once that wallet pass is then in my phone, so let me just as an example bring this one up here, right? So let's just say, so here's that eSig1 company I was just referring to. So the wallet pass is now in my phone. The incentive of the referral sits underneath here. So if you were to scan that when I was with you, it now takes you through to that landing page I was just referring to, saying, Phil has just recommended you scan this and you go in. If you've already been to that website before, or we already know who you are because you've been on that URL before, it bypasses the entire sign up process and just goes add to wallet. Now, when I'm in that particular device, if I hit this and hit pass details, you can see I've got tap to refer underneath here. But if there was any other loyalty things I had, it would all be linked underneath here with different links that I was able to get into. So here's another example of another one that I've got. Pass details. You can see here it says get 10% off all orders, refer a customer. So if I hit this to hit refer, it now takes me in to the ability to be able to refer that customer straight away. So I'm sharing the wallet pass with whoever it is that I'm with directly from there. At the same time as all of that wallet thing is built directly into my watch as well. So I can go straight onto here, go straight into the app I was just talking about. Hey presto, there's the ability to be able to share straight within inside that.
Straight in your watch. Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. And then the other person to scan it on their phone, bish, you're off.
Yeah, then you got it, exactly. And that's how you end up just with this viral effect taking place. You know, one person refers their next friend, who's then referred 5 of theirs. Those 5 then refer another. And before you know it, you're back to the example that I gave at the beginning of where 3,000 wallet passes are installed within a matter of weeks. It's clever.
No, it's clever because, like you said at the start, you've taken the friction out of the referral process, and at the same time as taking out the friction. I can't even talk. At the same time as taking out the friction, you've installed the ability to do push notifications and to do a little bit of clever marketing on the wallet pass as well. Opening up a different communication channel. So I like how you've done that. I just want to clarify one thing about your system though. You said Shopify. Is this a Shopify only app, or is this workable on any web platform?
It works on any web platform, although we don't have a self-service model on those other platforms. We do have a number of WooCommerce and Salesforce Commerce customers that are using it. But for any of those that have had experience in WooCommerce, I think installing an app on there could have a whole magnitude of different problems. You know, people have got lots and lots of different apps that are all conflicting at any one time. And so our experience of doing that has been more of we will help install it for you, which is just a JavaScript snippet that sits on your site. We will help install that for you because we have noticed, we've just noticed quite a number of problems that people run into when they're using WooCommerce with that. So we have that, and then some of our other big retail businesses that we're operating with are actually on Salesforce Commerce. So again, that works in a slightly more white glove approach towards the onboarding process. Naturally, the sort of customers that Salesforce Commerce attracts are typically people that want that more kind of white glove help onboarding process. But on Shopify, the app is completely self-service. You don't need to speak to us. Obviously, we are here to be able to speak to people. But yeah, it's a far more self-service model that sits within that ecosystem.
So what are some of the strategies? So you've got this, you're taking advantage of the latest technology in some respects to take advantage of ancient marketing principles of telling stories to one another and in telling your friends to go try something. What are some of the things you've seen work well with this app? What are some of the strategies that you've seen work well?
I think when it comes to from a strategic perspective, it's that referrals is the starting point. And the great thing that Wallet Passes enables businesses to do is to dynamically update them based upon what the customer is doing with the brand. So let's go back to the example of where a customer has been with you for a month versus a customer that has been with you for 3 years. You mentioned it already that there are some brands that you go back to and you classify yourself as, more of a loyal to that particular brand.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the definition of the word loyal there, because it's in your mind, the word loyal is repeat business. Mm-hmm. Other brands may see it in a slightly different manner in terms of being loyal with them. Now, the strategies that work well is the ability to be able to consistently remind the customer that whatever it is that they're doing is beneficial to them. So we'll go back to the tiering system, right? And typically the entry points into tiers have been, you have spent X, therefore you now are in bronze tier. You've spent more, you are now inside the silver tier. One of the things is that we're trying to encourage brands to do is to think a little bit broader than this. So we can touch on the next point here, which is the notion of lifestyle loyalty, social responsibility, and environmental. Some of the really important things that not just from the planet, but from corporate responsibility through to what customers are conscious about what it is that they're ordering. So I'll give you an example, which is if a customer wants to select a more eco-friendly way of receiving their product, so they want to have it in recycled card, and they also are happy for it to take an extra 3 or 4 days to be able to do it. Why is a brand not leaning into that more and rewarding customers to be able to do that? So this is where we move from a referral-based system into actually how do you want to build your loyalty program? So when we speak to businesses or when they're talking about from a strategic perspective, they are coming to us from the point of view of we want to build a points-based system that people move into tiers. And actually we want to start to encourage better behavior with our customers, because that makes us as a brand look like we're doing, makes us look better. It enables us in some instances, like with hampers.com, to obtain its B Corp status, because it is tapping into that particular part of the consumer buying side of things.
Yeah.
So I mentioned about the environmental side of things. Another big area that we are now pushing the wallet-based technology to move into and utilizing mobile even further is we're working on the lifestyle side of things. So let me give you an example with fitness, because this is an easy one for me to refer to. If you're going for a run and you're going for a run 3 times a week, then why would a fitness brand not want to encourage you to continue doing that or reward you for doing that with their brand? So if I'm going to go for a run and I want to go for, say, 3 5K runs a week because I enjoy going for a run, if I know there's a fitness brand or a supplement company or whoever, if I'm going for a run and that therefore means I'm getting rewarded with this particular brand, when it comes to that decision making, I'm more likely to go with the brand that's rewarding me for the things it is that I'm doing in my lifestyle, rather than because they happen to be running a promotion at one time. So this is back to the point that you mentioned around when you guys were having breakfast around the user-generated content. It's tapping into that kind of similar sort of psychology of where we're saying, well, what is the user actually doing throughout their lifestyle where I can reward somebody to be able to do that? So somebody using the mascara and they're posting it online, you can tap into that fad, and then you can communicate with them on the wallet pass to be able to say, hey, great, thanks for doing a video for us on TikTok. It did this. We've loaded your wallet up with another $5 worth of store credit. So it's thinking about where are customers, what are they doing, how are they interacting with your brand, and can I incentivize them for our brand to be front and center all the time? So instead of them trying a new chocolate whey protein with another brand, no, come back and buy it from me again. And I've got the pass inside my phone that enables me to be able to make that transactional element well. I'm already on the person's device and the ability to be able to communicate with them. But now that I have access to that particular device, I can load up other applications on the side to be able to say, connect your Strava, connect your Apple Health, connect your fitness data into it, and start pulling it through, especially as we're moving into more of a first data and third party data world and moving away from moving to more of a cookieless environment. It's these sorts of things that brands should be thinking about moving forward, rather than relying on a promotional offer to try and incentivize somebody to be able to come back. It's thinking a little bit more long term.
Oh, I love that. It's definitely thinking outside the box, isn't it? And it's definitely not thinking the default, I'll give you a $5 if you refer a friend kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. I'm intrigued by this because actually you're talking about behavior, you're talking about lifestyle, which ties into what you said right at the start, that actually your business was built because you created habits in the end consumer, right? So I'm thinking the protein company you mentioned, can they use the technology to help develop habits? For example, I don't know, 8:30 in the morning, I'm going to remind you to take your chocolate protein shake because it's the best time of the day to take it, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And if you take it, you kind of gamify it in some way, I suppose, or it even gets to the point, I suppose, where if they've taken it 30 consecutive days, they're going to be running out of product, surely. So you don't even need to order it. I could just automatically send you something, that kind of thing. I think it changes e-commerce quite a lot, doesn't it, when you start to think down those roads?
Yeah, and I think going back to Sub-Summit, that's where a lot of the conversations went. Because when you're talking about subscription and you're talking about subscription e-commerce, what you're actually talking about there are products that are consumable, products where there is a start and there's an end. But when you start to lean into things like apparel, and you start to lean into, say audio-visual equipment, and some of the other businesses that we work with that sell products where the average order value is like $800 for something, the strategy around it suddenly starts to change quite some, because now if I'm turning around and saying, we want to incentivize you based upon the number of steps that you're doing, but we know that the average order value is $1,000, suddenly you don't incentivize customers in the same way as you would do if it was somebody taking their vitamin tablets every morning. It's a very different type of model. So in those instances, instead of building the technology out to say, well, let's build an all-encompassing app that can take into consideration those different types of buying behaviors, or those different types of, or the different average order values of those e-com brands. Instead, Upzelo is taking the attitude, which is, well, what integrations and what third parties can we work with that would incentivize that? So looking at the higher average order value, some of the integrations that we're looking at there are more, say, down the charity route, which is somebody has placed an order for $1,000. They don't care. Well, I'm generalizing here, but I don't care about your 5% off your discount voucher for it, because I'm not going to buy another product from you for another 6 months. Yeah. And that's fine because the brand knows that. But what happens if that individual says, no, actually that 5% off has a maximum value of $50. I would like to put that towards more of a charitable event. I'd like to donate that to somebody in some way, shape or form. So we're looking at it from the perspective of who can we integrate with to open up opportunities for the brand to decide who do we necessarily want to be able to integrate with and to be able to provide a wider breadth of brand exposure.
That's really good, really powerful. And I guess I thinking that through then, and also thinking about third parties, could you have it where, going back to the protein company, so I subscribe to philchocolateprotein.com. If that domain's not gone, by the way, we should totally register that. But Phil's Chocolate.
I know a website that you could try and find out whether the brand name's still available or not. Yeah. But I wouldn't trust it.
I wouldn't either. So I in effect, I'm a regular user of the protein, right? And I'm like, and you do this thing where it's like, listen, every time you do 10,000 steps a day, because we integrate with the health app on your phone, every time you do 10,000 steps a day, it unlocks something. It does something, right? Which makes sense because you're a health company. Can you then do it whereby if I go into a gym chain which you have connected with and show my wallet pass, that I can then get, I don't know, a free day, I can get something, just for turning up, like a free entry or something like that? Or are we starting to take technology beyond the realms of where it's capable right now?
No, it's a very good point. I'm actually, based upon the black book of individuals it is that I have both here in the UK and over in the US, as some big gym chains. I would be lying if I said that conversation hasn't come up in some way, shape, or form. And the advantage of having this on a device is that you are essentially doing what you would do with Shopify POS, right? But you're just opening up the integration with a different point of sale. And you're scanning the QR code to be able to gain access to that and to be able to say, hey, as a customer of this whey protein chocolate company or whatever you want to label it, we've partnered with X gym chain. Don't forget to use your free pass. And this is exactly what we did in our previous product. Like it's almost, we created a marketplace where we utilized our ability to negotiate good deals. In fact, we even had Apple on our previous marketplace, and that was a tough gig, trying to be able to distribute Apple products inside our own ecosystem to be able to do that. We had everything from technology providers through to education that was sitting inside there. We had sports supplement companies, hardware providers, you name it. And we created a marketplace that enabled the club or the PT to say, I want to work with that brand, and that brand. That then unlocked it inside their platform for their clients to be able to see. This is exactly the same thing over here where we're sitting and saying, well, it can work this way, but not only can it work that way, but there might be two merchants that are using Upzelo that actually complement one another. So you might have a company over here that sells shoes that's never going to sell clothing. But you have a company over here that sells clothing that is never going to sell shoes. Well, why can't our customers benefit from one another? We're using the same technology to be able to do it. One of them's got e-commerce and retail. The other one is just purely e-commerce.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're able to connect the dots up behind the scenes for that to be able to happen. Now, I'm not sitting here for 1 second and saying that all of these particular feature sets work. But as I said at the beginning, with the trademark around Retention OS, you can kind of see where this stuff is going.
Yeah, you can. You can.
And I'm definitely not sitting here and saying that we will be the only provider that will do this in the future. I wouldn't be at all surprised there are other, other businesses and other people that are way smarter than me that will come up with concepts that do this as well. But there's plenty of e-com and retail companies out there to go around, right? And so I think if we can move in the direction of that makes the experience for the customer great and it makes it work really well, then then everybody benefits from it.
Yeah. Oh, Phil, listen, what a great conversation. Thoroughly enjoying your technology. But alas, we have come to that point in the show where I ask you for a question for me. This is where, dear listener, if you don't know, for the last few weeks, I've been asking my guests for questions. I take the question snippet and we create like a little social media video. So if you follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn, you'll hear my answer to the question, which is...
You asked somebody what are the two things it is that they would do when they're setting up a brand today. If you had to extend those from two things and added another two on top of it, what would be the two things that you would add to the list as well?
Ah, very good question. So what are the two things that I would add to Jay Myers? Okay, yeah, no problem. If you want to hear me answer that question, come follow me on social media at Matt Edmundson, which is Instagram or LinkedIn, basically. And you will hear my answer to that question. But Phil, listen, man, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. We were going to record this in person, but alas, it never worked out. Maybe next time. But it's been cool anyhow, man. How do people reach you? How do they connect with you if they want to do that?
Yeah, so the easiest way to do it is to connect with me on LinkedIn. So just search for Upzelo or search for my name, Phil Carr, on LinkedIn. Feel free to drop me a message on there or connect with me directly, and then and we can go from there.
Fantastic. And of course, Carr is spelled C-A-R-R, because why would you just spell it with one R, right?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Absolutely. We will, of course, link to Phil's LinkedIn information and to Upzelo in the show notes, which you can get along with the transcript and all that good stuff on our website, ecommercepodcast.net. It will be in your inbox if you are subscribed to the newsletter that I mentioned earlier. And of course, if you're like me, all of that doesn't really matter because I just scroll down in the podcast app. The notes are there anyway, and I just click the links. So either any of those three methods work. But if you please come join our email list. It would be great. But yes, that's it from me. That's it from Phil. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, by the way, I've not done it. This is what happens when you go off script. Big shout out to the team at Pod Junction that make this show possible, of course. And if no one's told you yet today, let me be the first. You are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Phil's got to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Now, be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got yet more great conversations coming up, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And that genuinely is it. Now, I remembered my final bits. Phil, thanks for coming on, man. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation.
Matt, thanks very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. Well, that's it from me. That's it from Phil. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I will see you next time. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye-bye.